All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to deconstruct a name you've probably heard 1,000 times, Babylon. Or, as our source text puts it, Bab. But, and this is the key, we're not talking about some lost city of bricks and mortar. No, we're exploring a much more provocative idea. What if Bab is a spiritual system, kind of like an operating system for the entire modern world, one that's running right now?
And that really is the central question we're tackling. What if Babylon wasn't a place that fell, but a system that just kept going? A system that we're all living in every single day. Imagine its principles aren't just history, but they're actually the very foundation of our modern world, shaping our economies, our cultures, even what we aspire to be. It's a challenging thought for sure, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack together.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll ask, what is Babel? Then we'll get into the pattern of pride behind it. After that, we'll look at the shaking of the system. And finally, we'll explore the idea of a refuge called Sion. All right, let's get right into it. Part 1. What exactly is Babel according to this source material? Well, the text immediately reframes the whole conversation. It takes Babel off the map, away from a specific location, and turns it into a concept, something that can pop up anywhere at any time.
And here's the core definition we're given. Babel is not a land, it's a throne, a seat of power that gets set up wherever people decide to exalt themselves above the divine, referred to here as El. So you see, it's not a condition tied to a place, it's a condition of the heart. This makes it a timeless principle, not some dusty historical artifact. It can literally be rebuilt anywhere by anyone.
So you might be thinking, okay, how does this abstract throne actually show up in the real world? Well, the source calls it the Table of Babel. And what is that? It's basically the entire global system of buying and selling. It's the numbering of people for control and taxes. And maybe most importantly, it's this idea of measuring a person's worth by silver and gold. It's a universal system of value that pretty much the whole world gets.
And to really paint a picture of this system's character, the text pulls a quote from Yeshayah, or Isaiah. How the oppressor has ceased, the gold gatherer ceased. See how it's framed? It's not just a system, it's an oppressor. It's a gold gatherer, totally focused on accumulation. This isn't presented as some neutral economic framework. It's got a very clear and very negative moral charge. Okay, so if Babel is the system itself, what's the software that's running it? The source says there's a single unifying spirit, a voice that animates the whole thing. And it doesn't matter what language you speak or where you live, this voice is the same. And that single voice, that fundamental driver, it just says 2 words: I will ascend. That's it. It's the ultimate declaration of self-exaltation. It's that raw desire to climb higher, to be the one in charge, to win on your own terms. And it's this one ambition that connects all the different versions of Babel all over the world. So this pattern, this voice, it has a name in the text, HЄlელ, a name you might recognize from other traditions, often translated as Lucifer. This is the archetype of pride. It's the ultimate expression of that I will ascend mindset. We're not just talking about wanting to get ahead in life. This is the desire to take the highest place of all and become, as the text puts it, like the Most High. But then, the whole narrative takes a really dramatic turn. Right after describing this incredible ambition, this desire to ascend to the heavens, the source hits us with this famous line about the fall. How you have fallen from the heavens, O HЄlėl. It creates this powerful sense of prophecy, right? The very same spirit that says, I will ascend, is actually destined for a huge fall. The pride of HЄlėl, it seems, contains the seed of its own destruction. And that inevitable fall, well, it leads us straight into our third part, the shaking of the whole system. I mean, it makes sense, right? If the prideful spirit that built the system is destined to fall, then the system it built, Babel, has to fall right along with it. But that raises a huge question. How does a global system built on money and power actually come apart? Well, the source identifies the force behind the shaking as the Medes. Now, in the original prophecy from Isaiah, this was a literal group of people. But in this symbolic interpretation, they represent something else entirely. They represent a force that works on a completely different value system. A force you can't buy, you can't bribe, and you definitely can't control with money. And this right here is the absolute key. Just look at the contrast. On one side, you've got the system of Babel, which values silver and gold above all else. And on the other, you have the stirring of the Medes, who, as the text says, do not regard silver. So think about it. How do you control a power that doesn't care about your money? The answer is you can't. And that's the core of the judgment. It's a complete undoing of the trust we place in riches because it introduces a variable that money just has no power over. And it's so important to see that the text doesn't frame this as some random, chaotic event. No, this is a deliberate act. The quote says, "For Yahuah of hosts has purposed, and who annuls it?" The key word there is purposed. The fall of this system is intentional. It's presented as this unstoppable, divine judgment on a world that has put all its trust in the wrong thing. Okay, so if the whole system of Babel is being shaken right down to its foundations, is there an alternative? What comes next? And that brings us to our final section. Because the source doesn't just describe a big collapse and leave it at that. No, it presents a solution, a totally different kind of foundation that's being laid even while the old one is crumbling to dust. So just picture it. The great Tower of Commerce and Pride is finally falling. And according to this text, as it's coming down, something else is being built. But this new thing isn't being built from the top down by the rich and powerful. No, it's being founded from the ground up. It's something stable, something meant to last. And this sets up the final and most critical contrast in this whole analysis.
And that foundation is called Sion, or Zion. And pay close attention to its defining feature. It's not some fortress for the powerful. It is a refuge for the poor. You see the difference? Babel was a throne for self-exaltation, built by the wealthy. Sion is a shelter for the humble, founded specifically to be a safe place.
So, who actually finds covering in this place called Sion? Well, the qualifications are a complete flip of Babel's values. It's not for the rich and silver, it's not for the mighty in armies. No, entrance isn't bought or secured by power. It's for the poor of his people, which the text ties directly to being poor in spirit. It's a kingdom where the entry requirements are the exact opposite of what you need to get ahead in the world system.
So, as we wrap up, the source gives us a final decoder key, if you will, to really lock in these ideas. First, Babel equals confusion. Second, HЄlელ is its engine, which is pride. Third, that pride creates the beast, which is the tangible global system. And that leads to the fourth and most critical piece. The mark isn't a physical thing. It's simply where you place your trust. And once you have that understanding, the text issues its final, ultimate command. It's a direct call to action, an urgent plea to get out, to spiritually and mentally separate yourself from this entire system of confusion and pride. Because the warning is clear. If you stay in it, you're going to partake in its plagues. And so, in the end, the source just leaves us with a choice. It boils everything we've talked about down to one single question. After showing us this timeless system of human pride, it turns the spotlight right back on us and asks, where do you place your trust? Is it in the systems of men, this falling tower, or is it in the counsel of the Most High? That's the question we're all left to answer.